we have, again, another amazing celebrity guest this week. We have Jason Hann from String Cheese Incident right here. Yay! Say hello, Jason. We also have up and comer. We've got Henry Thrill over there.
Yeah.
He's
Hi
a
guys.
music producer, only 17 years old. So totally excited to talk with these guys. I have known Jason, I don't know for how many years. Maybe we won't even talk about that.
We'll
But
talk later. We'll talk later about it.
yeah, we won't even discuss the
Yeah.
amount of years. But I can just tell you that he used to come over to our house weekly with a box of donuts. And he and my husband, they would play video games and eat donuts. And then they would do like a little, it was sort of an EDM jam, sort of.
Oh, yeah.
Play far out music and jam. And it was,
That was when Ableton first came out, too. I mean,
yeah,
we were just
Wow.
kind of playing around with it. I know,
yeah.
look at Henry. Henry's blown away when Ableton came out.
Yeah.
Wow, you're really old. Hey. Well, I'm going to switch to speaker view so people can see you guys up close and personal. Jason, I've known you for a long time, but not everybody knows how you got started. Not everybody knows how you went from percussion player to working with String Cheese, being a member of that band. And then, of course, I'm going to ask you about EOTO and all your music projects and production projects. But can you just tell people how you got involved with String Cheese? And I'm going to spotlight you right now so everyone can see you.
Spotlight.
Go
Right
ahead.
on. Yeah, right on. Well, let's see. In the earlier '90s, I had my own band called Zoo People, and I was based out of Los Angeles. And we were like a thing. We had really big local crowds, and we all lived in the Venice area. And we got signed by Atlantic Records, and we were all really young at the time, so all super excited about that. And at that time, we were on the circuit that's now known as the jam band circuit, which is basically you don't necessarily have a hit song, but you tour your butt off, and you earn really loyal followings, and you never play the same set on any given night. And that's sort of part of the culture of being a jam band, is that you're always trying to find different writing new songs on the road, and doing unique cover songs, and really trying to surprise your audience all the time, so they get used to being excited about, oh, what are they going to do next? And there was a festival called High Sierra Music Festival up in Northern California. It still goes on now, but that was one of the first places that Zoo People was playing a festival at. And we got, when we were playing our setup there, we were scheduled for the afternoon. We didn't really have a name up in that area, so we got on a lower slot on the second stage, and that stage that we were on was being run by a generator, and the generator went out about 13 times during our set, which was, it sounds like a nightmare. And the B3 organ kept getting out of tune, and because the power was unstable, and that was affecting the tuning of the organ. But every time there would be a power dropout, me and the drummer would look at each other as like, oh, I guess another drum solo. And it happened enough times where people started really like cheering for it. It's like, power's out, but there's a drum solo. And I was playing percussion at the time, and I'd come out front and bring my drum down to the front of the stage. Anyways, the drummer from String Cheese, Michael Travis, saw that set, and at the time, String Cheese was just getting off the ground, but they were like, at that festival, everyone wanted to see that particular band, and I hadn't seen them before. So I just heard about their name on the drive up, and now this guy from that band was asking me to go over to their bus and do like some percussion jam with him and another guy from another band. And so I did that, and we got along really well and exchanged numbers. And after that time, we were just in touch by phone, maybe a few phone calls a year. Hey, what's going on? Oh, those guys are just completely blowing up. We were doing really good with our thing, but, working hard, going in the studio. And then we lost touch around 2000. And one of those times before that, I had sat in with String Cheese when they came through San Diego and Los Angeles. None of the other guys really remembered me because they had so many guests up on the stage at the time. but I was still in touch with Travis, the drummer. And then, so we lost touch in about 2000. And then 2004, I got a call out of the blue saying, hey, this is Travis from String Cheese. I'm like, Travis, what's up? Man, you guys are doing so well. He's like, thanks a lot. He's like, well, I was calling because I was wondering if you wanted to sit in with us during our LA show. And I was like, sure. What should I bring down? And he said, well, bring everything down because we might be looking for an addition to the band. And I think at the time they weren't necessarily looking for another melodic soloist because there's already 2 guitar players and a piano player that were, that had their own space in the band for doing lots of solos. But String Cheese plays a lot of African music and Cuban music. And then they asked if I knew anything about electronic music, because at the time Burning Man was starting to get really big, and some of the guys were hanging out with DJs and seeing this whole other culture start up in Burning Man. And I had been working with a lot of electronic music as well, so it seems like qualifications were there to do something. And then I played those shows in Southern California, and they really enjoyed it, and they asked if I wanted to go on their fall tour, not to join the band, but just to do a fall tour and have fun with it. I was like, sure. And at the end of that fall tour, they asked if I wanted to do the next tour. And somewhere in that next year, within that next year, they were asking their fans, well, should we get this guy to join? And people were pretty stoked. And then I, sort of ended up being a band member.
Yay!
Yay!
So awesome. Hey, so before we get to kind of the next thing I want to ask you about, which you probably know what it is, I want to ask you about EOTO. But I'm going to ask you about EOTO and how insane you were to take that on around your touring schedule. I'm going to ask you that in a second, but I want everyone out there to know that you can comment questions below this video. We already have some comments, no particular questions, but we do have comments. Angie Dieters, my sister, says she is watching, and she says, hi, Jason.
Hey,
and
Angie.
then, yay! And then Stacy Golden said, me and Aaron are watching.
What's up? Aaron's like in college now or something, right?
I know, right? So anyway, Jason is one of the hardest working people I know. And there was a time when between his String Cheese dates, he had this whole separate electronic like EDM project, which you're still doing EOTO, right? I mean, it was
EOTO, yeah.
He took on this it was a huge undertaking. And, if anyone out there has been to these concerts, they're incredible. It was so fun watching you guys do your thing. It's improvised electric dance music. What drove you to take on that around your already insane schedule, and what got you there?
Well, when I first joined String Cheese, again, the drummer in String Cheese, Travis, let me stay at his place for the practices, and that's way better than like staying in a hotel. And the practices would be out in Colorado, and so when I'd fly out to Colorado, instead of staying at a hotel, I would stay at his place, which was a really great house by a river. And we could make as much noise as we wanted. So it seems like after String Cheese practice, we would go back to his place, and around 10 at night, we would go up into his jam room, and we would set up something pretty easy. Like he would play just like 6-string bass, and I would play drum set. And he had a looper called Boomer. Is it a boomerang? I'm pretty sure it was a boomerang. And he looked up to a musician named Keller Williams, who was awesome at looping live. And so he was playing a 6-string on the boomerang. And after he'd get a loop in there, he would pick up the guitar and just fool around on guitar. And I would play beats next to it. And I was really into doing some things like that already. In some different projects in LA. But we were having a good time with it, and I knew about this program called Ableton. I think at the time it was like Ableton 2.0. It was still considered like a plugin. It wasn't really standalone. And I'd been messing with it, and I was like, well, we could up the fun on these jams if we use this program Ableton, and we could set ourselves up with monitors inside of it, and also it's live elastic audio, so we could change the tempo in the moment, and any audio that's recorded in the loop wouldn't pitch shift up by going faster. It would all just get faster. And Ableton Live is still the only program that I know that does that, has that elastic audio that allows you to do that. But it was a really fun toy for us to start exploring and to start getting MIDI controllers involved, where we could both put echoes on certain points of on certain instruments, so we could do live dubbing out of whatever we were doing, and we kept doing that, and we would go from like 10 in the morning. 10 at night till like 4 in the morning every night. Just it was such a awesome journey. And his wife was a night owl and an author, and she would set up her writing station in the living room, and we would send our sound into 2 speakers in the living room so that she could get up and dance whenever she wanted to. And then if we would take any kind of a break, she would be like, "Oh, I really like that one jam you guys did." And anyways, at some point we were like, oh, after a year of doing it, we were like, maybe we'll try to do this. We'll try to do this live, in a live situation. And a festival promoter from Colorado asked us if we wanted to do our first show at his festival, and we're like, sure. And so then we got embarked on the hardest part of any band, coming up with the band name. And it took, they put up like 3 different flyers with 3 different band names that we came up for ourselves. And that was the start of EOTO, all improvised electronica. And we were able to figure out ways of improvising and playing really songs. We would play essentially songs within 3-minute periods, and then just know in our heads, about 3 minutes has gone by, let's switch themes, let's switch keys, let's switch grooves, and we could really play hours and hours at a time.
So cool. And you guys have amazing video projection during your concerts. Who's your video person?
Well, we were using this guy. His name is Zebler, and he's gone on to be a really incredible visual artist. We ended up there was about 5 years of us using the projection visuals, and we got deep with it. We had 2 separate video stages in case we played on 2 parts of the country in the same weekend. And so one production would fly to one state, another production would fly to another state or up to Canada or something like that. And so we could do a Friday and a Saturday show. And Zebler was an amazing visual artist. And what he was really good at was also getting other like 3D artists to submit material that we could use in our show. And we had our stage setup was like a big lotus flower. It's a little bit hard to picture. I should have brought a picture of it, but it's a big lotus flower, and there would be all kinds of graphics projected onto it that looked like the flower was growing, or that we'd be on some alien planet, or that we'd be soaring in space. All these really amazing projections on it. And that was really good for a long time. Then actually after String Cheese started getting really busy again, we really slowed down our touring. And then eventually we ended up not using the projections. And, it's crazy when you get the scheduling going in a way where you can't really do both to the extent that they need to have the time that they deserve to have the time put into it. Yeah. And we've had to backscale from EOTO to keep String Cheese as the
you were just touring nonstop and not sleeping for the longest time. I have no idea how you did that.
We had one year where we toured. EOTO did 250 shows in one year, and String Cheese did like 30 shows. But I wasn't home.
Yeah, I know. We missed those donuts.
and the donut line had to stop. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to read one comment, because do you know Roberto Monteiro? Do you know him, guitar player?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. His wife just chimed in and said, "Hi guys, practicing my English."
Oh,
that was cute. So Roberto's probably out there too.
Roberto, I would play with Roberto with Ashley. Ashley Marr. We would play like
Yeah.
some trios for her
Yeah,
doing like
he's
African.
awesome. He's awesome. Hey, I would love to get Henry in on the conversation.
Yes.
How's it going? So Henry is just super talented, up and coming, motivated, 17-year-old music producer and DJ. So Henry, you're so young and you're already doing so much. What kind of got you into DJing and music production to begin with?
Yeah, so it
And
kind of
how old were you too when you first started?
yeah, so right now I'm 17 and I started kind of around 4 or 5 years ago, just on like I got an iPod Touch for Christmas one year, and I found this app called GarageBand, and I started just like messing. And GarageBand comes with Apple loops, which are just pre-made, essentially just like 8 or 16 bar melodies or drum beats or just stuff like that. And so I kind of got started just like compiling loops together into like 3.5, 4 minute songs. And I kind of did that, and I like just like slowly fell in love with just like the act of like creating something just like almost like out of thin air. It's like I had this, and like 3 days later I have this whole new like 3.5 minute journey. Like, and like that was just such a crazy thing to me. Like, and I was like so young, I was like 14 at the time. And then I got a computer, I think for my birthday one year, and I found out about this software called FL Studio, and I started out on that, and I really dug into it then, because FL is way more like, it's way more open, and it's like a lot more like, here's just the tools and like do what you want. And after that I kind of like, okay, this is like this is intense. And so I spent, oh gosh, I watched so many just videos on YouTube on how to like use it, how to write melodies, like chord progressions, drums, like just like learning how to just really use it and like understand like the workflow of it. And I did that, and I started to release some basic stuff on SoundCloud, and I finally like, started to get the hang of it and kind of like figure out my lane. Like I really like fell in love with dance music and like that 128 BPM, just like the driving kick drum, and something about that just like resonated with me. I don't know. And I started like really like focusing on that, and I released a couple of stuff on Spotify like years ago. It's all gone now because it's not that great, but it like the whole like experience, like it was so like, it was just so like mind opening, like wow, there's like so much potential to this. And I like that kind of, it kept me going. And so I was doing that, and about 2 years ago I went to this event in Amsterdam called Amsterdam Dance Event, which is like this gigantic just networking event with like crazy panels and like conferences during the day, and then like all these like parties, small and big, at night. And I went with my dad, and that was 2 years ago, so I think it was 2018. And I got a meeting with this management agency, and they like saw my previous work and they really liked what I was doing, and they took me on as one of their clients. And starting then, it kind of hit me like, wow, this is like serious, like I can kind of like do something with this. And so it was that time that I kind of like, started to like hone in on like the genre of music that I would like was really gravitated towards. Like I really love like the more bass heavy dance music, like bass house, G house, like electro house. And so I like was doing that. And so the management that I was working with, they helped me started to develop my brand. And it wasn't like, it was a lot of them just like asking me like, what do you do? Like, what do you want like your brand to be? Like, what can you do and like keep up a social media presence with? And I I wanted my brand to match the music that I was making, because, the brand is so important to like, it's the first thing people see. And I wanted it to really match the type of music that I was making. And so my brand is, it's a kind of like a bit darker, like a bit edgier kind of. And that, and then after like I noticed that, like for myself, I like dug deeper into other artists, like, wow, this artist who I love, like, I didn't even notice their brand or anything. And I'm like, wow, I guess that's like what really drove me towards them in the first place. And I guess ever since that, I've been really focused on like the branding and marketing, because that's like, you can have like the best music in the world, but if you can't like market yourself right and get yourself in front of eyes, then it's still fun, but that's really kind of what I fell in love with. So I really, after like that Amsterdam trip that I took, I just kind of realized that like this is like what I love to do, like making music, and like the whole like business side too. Like I like I love the business aspect of the music, and it's just so interesting on how to just like keep pushing myself and helping my friends to do the same.
Yeah, that's so great that you love the business so much, because I know so many artists that just want to create music all the time. And by the way, I'm really impressed with your ability to create exciting music and keep that up at a regular pace, because I know you're a high school student, you have studies, you have all kinds of other things, but it's really important to create new content. And I see that your content is very fun and exciting. And just like what Jason was talking about, they're intentional, switching up the groove, switching up the song after 3 minutes. I can hear that in your music. There's always development, it's always changing, and you're keeping it really exciting, which is great. But definitely keeping your eye on the business and being very young and motivated, it's awesome. Most people don't know how I know you. I know you because you're a college audition LA client, and
Yes.
they don't know that Jason and Henry have met. So Henry lives in the Washington, DC area. And Jason was touring with EOTO out there, so I connected them just to for him to see what Jason does, because the more people you connect with, the better it is. And
Very important.
I know, yeah. And Henry, we actually talked about collaboration yesterday, the power of collaboration, not only
Yeah.
getting like working with someone because they have a particular kind of genius they can add to your project, but isn't that great for developing your audience, because they have an audience they can bring to your music as well, and your
Yeah.
audience can check out what they're doing, so it works out in so many great aspects. And I like that you're fired up about the business part of it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think also the collaboration aspect of music is, it's not only important just like to like meet new people and to make new connections, and I think it's most important because you can make a song or a track or a whole album with another person that if they weren't there doing it with you, it wouldn't have ever happened. I've done like so many tracks with the like one or two different people, just like in particular, where if I hadn't had asked them for help on the record, then it would have been a completely different track, or the track would have never even gotten released. And I think that's where kind of like the whole music scene really stands out from any other industry, because everyone's so willing to just work together. And I think once you really take advantage of that collaboration aspect and the networking aspect of it, and meeting new people and making music with people who maybe don't even make the same genre as you, but if you can come to some like common ground almost on the track, then you might make something that you both are so just stoked on, and it's like just the craziest feeling.
That's so good.
Ah, so good. And for anybody listening out there, when we're done here, I'm going to post in the comments links to Henry's music on Spotify, his Instagram, so you can check him out. I know Jason's got a bunch of video projects, so it's so funny that we're talking about music festivals and EDM music, dance music, and all that stuff in a pandemic,
Yes.
right? But it doesn't stop, because both of these guys that I'm interviewing today have been producing music. Henry's been writing and producing and getting his music on Spotify. He's got a great listener base. He's got 66,000 more than that per month of regular listeners. Jason's taken on being this video producer. His videos are awesome. My husband Matt was on the first one. He's been doing like two string shoes. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a lot more of them out there. Some of them just have been for specific events and haven't been released publicly. So there's kind of a lot more of
You've
them out
been
there.
playing, practicing, audio recording, video recording, and like editing all the video.
Yeah.
And he's gotten really good at your animation on Final Cut, the moving. That I know what that takes because I can do it, but I'm really
That's so funny. I was just talking to my brother-in-law, and actually, my nephew, he's I think he's probably six. I think he's 16, and he's got something like 800,000 followers on his YouTube channel. He's not a musician. He does like these Nerf gun these videos, but he's been doing it since he was 13, and they're now he's got 800,000 subscribers, and but anyways, I've got some inspiration from him, and I'm asking him and his dad, who's my brother-in-law. They run that thing kind of like a business. They get like video shoots together for they get all his friends together and they pick what time they're going to do shoots, and they have like little storyboards all made out for it. So it's awesome asking him for advice. And so my brother-in-law asked me, well, what software do you use to make all the squares like bump off of each other and look like they're moving away and then moving closer? And I'm like, man, that's just me nerding out and doing these. What are they called? It's called matching or something.
Mapping, yeah, with your X and Y points. And
yes, and
spotlight at different points. I've done it. It just takes forever.
Yeah, key mapping, and it does take a long time. But after the first one, I got really into trying to think of ways that I could make it a fun process and make the process shorter for myself. So now I have all these things that I do that are kind of part of the routine that I'm sure someone else would look at it and say, what the hell are you, what the hell and why are you doing all that? And it's because I really love that end result of where like you're watching a music video, or you're watching the playing of a music video sort of come to life. Like there's a soloist, so let's let that soloist be, let's zoom in on what's going on. Meanwhile, everyone else is still playing. There's another section that's going to happen. So let's put that to the forefront and move this over to here. And I like that sort of dancing music clips. I'll come up with a name for it. I haven't come up with a name for it yet. So, but it brings out another creative quality in myself that I get excited about arranging the video aspects of it, because I'm a music fan looking at it as like, what do I want to see next? It's like, oh, let's feature this thing to happen here because it's the best thing going. It serves the song and it serves what's going on musically maybe the best.
Yeah, it's super cool. So I'm going to definitely post your videos on there. And I know you just finished one. Matt said the one wouldn't be released till Monday, but you just released one an hour ago.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. It was just kind of like woke up today. They showed it in between our live streaming sets, the String Cheese live streaming sets that we do every Friday night. And usually between the sets, we still give the audience to have a little bit of a break to go to the bathroom or get some more drinks going before they get in front of the TV again. And they were able to show the video during then. And so I was like, oh, well, they're showing the video. Let's have it available by the next day. So I went ahead and put it out on Facebook and YouTube today, and it's getting some good attention already. So we like.
Yay. Hey, so we're about to wrap up. I haven't gotten any questions, but I keep getting very nice comments on the below our video, and one was from Roberto himself. He said, please tell Jason that I miss, great seeing you, Beth, and please tell Jason that I miss playing with him. So,
oh, same here. Roberto's so good.
They're working together, which is
talent,
cool.
talent.
So last call, any last word? You guys, I can't believe it's 3:31. Time flies when we do these live broadcasts.
Can I ask Henry a question?
Yes.
In Florida studio, what do you have specific go-tos? Like, are you a Serum guy for software keyboards, or what?
Yeah.
What do you have?
Serum is probably one of my favorite plugins for sure. It's, I don't know, it's just very open and free, and I love the like. Oh, there's just so many crazy presets that I work with too, and it's fun to mess around for hours just doing sound design, and just I have like a Alesis like V49 keyboard that I like mess around with and stuff with the presets that I make. Um, but it's also I one thing I've gotten into recently is sampling. Um, Not so much just like resampling like melodies and stuff, but like taking one shots and turning them into more than just a one shot. So I'll like take like a bass hit and I'll turn it into like a I'll turn that one bass hit into a melody. And that's something that I normally like I never would have even thought of up until recently. And I think it's just such a weird kind of way to like make music. Like, oh, this person already made this sound, but here I'm gonna take their sound and I'm gonna add all these crazy like plugins to it, and I'm just gonna completely change the sound. And it like could be something that you would never have ever heard if it weren't for that. And I think that's just the coolest part about just producing in general.
I love that. There's a producer who I look up to, goes by Virtual Riot,
Yeah.
and he's just like, it's really what the hell are you doing? And he does that kind of approach with like with wavetables in Serum, where he'll record something else and then bring that into Serum as a wavetable, and then you know, like something like a vacuum cleaner sound, sample that and bring it in as a wavetable into Serum and turn it into its own new instrument and do entire songs off of that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
His sound design is crazy.
Yeah, that's great, man. I'm gonna check out more of your music, man.
You guys are awesome. You know, most people don't know this, but I have a degree in music production and engineering, and I know nothing about like modern software except in Logic. I know my Logic. And Henry, the way we used to sample when I was in college is with the microphone. We would make our own original, like record stuff, manipulate it. That's how old I am.
Oh.
But anyway, that's old school. But really so great to have you guys on. Thank you for asking him that question, Jason. I don't even know what techie question I can ask, so that's
oh no, that's good. It was great to hear Henry. I mean, from doing it for 5 years and being 17 years old and making it learning things off of, say, YouTube. That's what you were talking about. And then to already just like be in it is that's just awesome. It really is.
I'm going to say a quick hi to Pat Hurst, who says, this conversation is so cool. Love it. So anyway, I try to keep track of the comments. I'm the worst at doing that.
Thank you.
It's fun to have a little interaction from the audience out there. Thank you guys so much for being here. This was super fun meeting with you.
Thank you.
We're going to post some links to your music so people can check you out. There's always, like, I check later and people keep watching it during the week. So, and of course, if you guys miss someone else's, oh, it's so distracting because they see the comments come up. I'll look at the comments later and I'll type responses. Maybe you guys can look at those comments on Facebook and see if anybody asks you a direct question, because people will they can access the video during the week. Actually, I think it just kind of gets pushed down into the status feed. So if people won't notice it a month or two later unless I boost it up. So we will respond to any comments after, and thank you so much for being up. Again, Coast Music is opening for in-person lessons, so we're super excited about that, and everyone have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.